Hi, I'm Marlene Gaybauer from the Geek and Review, and I have Nikki Shaver here from Legal Technology Hub. Nikki is going to tell us about the innovation conference that is coming up. I'm very excited to hear about this. So, Nikki, please let us know.
Hi, Marlene. Hi, everyone. I'm super excited. Our flagship Legal Tech Hub Innovation and Legal Technology Conference is coming up this Thursday, September 18th. Hard to believe, but we are here. It's a great lineup of speakers and content that we're really excited about, and we think you guys will be as well. We have our keynote speaker, Jay who will be speaking on the topic, The Price Also Rises, where she'll be speaking to what AI is actually doing to legal economics. And then we have Oz Benamram, the founder of Skills, Carla Swansberg, the CEO of ClearyX, taking that topic forward. And throughout the day, we'll have other amazing speakers like Kate Simpson of Fireman, Ed Sohn, Damien Reel, Monet Fauntleroy from Winston Strawn, and many other outstanding speakers. And in addition to the speed demos of exciting AI products, we'll also this year have some lightning talks on interesting topics that are particularly thematic and relevant for today, like the singularity and the potential of AGI in legal and what that would mean, or Scott Mazarski, a legal banker, on the state of legal AI funding. So we're really excited about this conference event. Tickets are selling really, really quickly. So if you want to grab some of those last tickets available, please do register as soon as possible. You can go to our site, legaltechnologyhub.com, see our top menu where there's an events drop down, and you'll see the link for LTH events where you can find the event and register. We hope to see you there. Marlene,
Well, it sounds like a great lineup and a great conference. So, congratulations.
thanks.
Welcome to the Geek and Review, the podcast focused on innovative and creative ideas in the legal industry. I'm Marlene Gaybauer.
And I'm Greg Lambert.
So this week, we are very happy to welcome Suzanne Konstance, Vice President and General Manager, Legal and Regulatory U.S. at Wolters Kluwer. Suzanne, welcome to the Geek and Review.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Marlene. Thanks
Yeah,
for having me, Greg.
it's great to have you on. I know we've been talking for quite a while now, and
Yes.
and trying to get this going. So, Suzanne, I'm gonna hit you with the hardest question up front, and that is, a lot of us work with Wolters Kluwer, and we know the name Wolters Kluwer. But in conversations that we've had in the past, we talked about, what exactly is Wolters Kluwer? Kind of what's the scope of what you do. So when someone comes up to you and is fresh and says, well, who's Wolters Kluwer and what do they do in the legal and regulatory space? What's kind of the elevator pitch that you give them on that?
Sure. So, Wolters Kluwer, it helps professionals who are in highly regulated spaces make sure that they can do the best jobs possible for their clients, have the right information, the right solutions, digital information, software. So we operate in a number of different fields, but legal and regulatory is a very key and important area for us. Some things about us that are interesting is we work across multiple countries, and our approach is very localized in each country. So, versus some organizations that are more centralized and they kind of take solutions and try to fit them into local markets, we stand up local businesses with the nuances and the solutions for their particular market. So we're really managed in that way. And if we look at the legal and regulatory business, I run, as you were mentioning, legal regulatory US at Wolters Kluwer. Our division, though, has a number of country level businesses. We have software businesses. We have things like ELM, which is enterprise legal management. We recently purchased Brightflag, which is a mid-sized legal operations software solution driven by AI. That's both in Europe and the U.S. So we're quite diverse. But in my business, which is U.S. and also cross-border, we do have software solutions and some different products, but we are a very large content provider as well in certain spaces in the U.S. and for cross-border.
Yeah,
So
because I
those are
was going
some
to
of the
say, I
things.
know a lot of people, when you talk legal information, the obviously the Westlaws, the Lexuses come to mind. But I mean, you're pretty much in all law firms and in legal departments. So why is that? What's the
Yeah.
specific content that people really
Yeah.
need from
I was
you?
going to say, which areas of regulatory, like, do you shine in?
Yeah. Well, there's certain, I mean, we're certainly more on the regulatory side, and we do like to say that while many providers in our space help their customers with litigation, our focus is helping our customers stay out of litigation. So, how do you stay compliant? How do you know what's coming with the regulatory environment? Certain areas that we've focused on, securities, for example, tax, IP, employment benefits, employment law. So there's certain areas in particular, but we really run the gamut on regulatory compliance.
I'm wondering, Suzanne, like, have you noticed, given sort of the things that are happening around the world, there seems to be a lot of change and turmoil, and I'm wondering, are you seeing that impact in terms of the content you're delivering?
Well, it's rapid paced, right? Like we're constantly providing updates on changes to regulation, as well as things like executive orders. I have someone, one of my past managers used to like to say after a big success or some big achievement or project, he would say, "I stand on the shoulders of giants," meaning he had a team of experts who were plugged in and really understood authors, editors. They understood what was going on. They could provide that extra level of information and really reflection. And they were on the case. And we sort of have a foundation too that is built over time. So I do see that those giants, those authors and those editors are even more critical right now with all the change that we have, because you constantly have to come out with updates and the sort of the so what and the reflections on some of that.
So, Suzanne, you mentioned Wolters Kluwer as a content provider. So, what does that mean when models and prompts and retrieval shape the answers now as much as articles and treatises? Can you walk through um, provenance, editorial standards, and audit trails and explain to us how that trust is earned and measured, and what counts as success for customers beyond faster answers?
Yeah. So I'll say a few things. Interestingly enough, we talk, and I think you folks know this too, that we talk regularly to our clients and we get feedback on their journeys using AI, using our products, using other products in the ecosystem. And we'll ask things about like return on investment and speed and efficiency. And usually they'll come back and they'll say quality, accuracy. That's what I'm focused on right now. I'm not yet there, especially with research, like there's a lot of different legal use cases, summarization and emails and checklists. But with the research and actually getting to the right content, they'll often say, I'm really focused on accuracy at this point. So that is very key to our value proposition. Where we focus is on making sure when we're providing content that we know where the content is coming from. We have the provenance. We know it's an authority or there's an expert providing that content. We know how has that content moved over time, like what has actually happened with the rule, what has happened with the regulation. Has it changed over time? Has there been action against it? Are there updates? Are there arguments, that affect it? All of those things are very important. And what's the context as well as of how it's used? How do we look at it at a deeper level? And I have, on my team, there's a product leader who is a practicing or has been a practicing attorney. She was a writer for us. And eventually she moved into the product management function, fell in love with technology. And she likes to say that often lawyers think the four corners of the document, is really where the value is. But it's all these things that you have to think about when you really look at the value of your content and your information. I'll also mention meta tagging and making sure that you categorize information so that all these tools can actually use it correctly, and that even search uses and finds information appropriately, and is able to digest it in the right way. Because ultimately, while AI is great to use and it can be fun and it's interesting, nobody's really getting onto all these platforms just to have fun with AI. This is not a technology pursuit,
Well,
right?
speak for yourself. I'm in there all the time.
I mean, maybe sometimes, but like at the end of the day, you got to get to the right information to give the right guidance to do the right work. So AI, the best, most sophisticated, deep research tool that you can get based on inaccurate information, limited information, out of date information is going to get you in a bad spot. It's going to sweet talk you and give you a summary that is not going to get you the kind of information and the kind of responses that you need.
Yeah, and I would say in if there ever was normal times, but in previous times, that I think just that making sure that the information is correct. But now we're also entering an era where, like previous guests, like Sean West, talks about this butting of heads between across the Atlantic between the EU and the United States, and that EU superpower is its regulatory actions. And I think the United States is trying now to kind of either by I don't know if I should say hook or crook, but to reduce regulatory actions. Do you, does that? Do you think that makes it a lot more difficult for the editors to to kind of keep on top of things? And then I know it definitely makes it much more important on what they're doing to
Yeah.
make sure that they're getting it right.
I think that change is always, something that you have to keep up with. But that's really what drives a lot of what we do is constant change in regulatory environments, how are things being governed? What is the real effect of some of this, in practice? So that change and that kind of dynamic environment is really sort of the heart of what we operate on. So yeah, it's work to do. There were periods of time where so many things were coming out that we were constantly not just putting out content, but we have a whole process of review and levels of editorial review. So multiple parties, an army of folks are behind every citation, right? Like, so they're going through every piece of that. But it's what we do, is how we operate, and whether it's an environment which is becoming more heavily regulated or is modifying regulations or lessening, that's our job, and that's really the heart of a lot of the quality that we provide.
So recently, Wolters Kluwer Legal and Regulatory has hit the news by formalizing a content license with Harvey, granting them what's called a non-exclusive access to primary source legal content from both its U.S. and its German divisions. Now that was a week ago. So has that changed at all? Is it still those two? Okay, good.
Yes. Yeah.
Want to make sure because these things change fast. And you talked about in the press release that this was a goal to get to support a trusted AI workflow, and we kind of mentioned that earlier. That there's all these tools that make things quick and easy, but we're also needing it to be right and
Yeah.
trustworthy. So let me ask you first, kind of what sparked the Wolters Kluwer decision to open access to your content on the Harvey platform, and then what are the goals that you have working toward this licensing relationship, and what's kind of long term as well.
Sure. So, again, going back to how I was describing our company, each country, each business has its own nuances and market needs. So, I made this decision for the legal and regulatory U.S. organization. And there's a colleague of mine, Stephanie Wolters, on the German side, who also felt that this was a good next step, in her business. So in legal and regulatory US, what we saw was we had an opportunity to really add better accuracy, better results for those customers using Harvey. And, they're trying to do a number of things in their legal workspace. But like I was saying before, if you don't have information you can trust, you are limited in what you can do. So this was a way for us to do a few things. It was helping this ecosystem that's evolving in using AI and using content in order to provide better outcomes, for the legal professional. It was our way of providing better, true information to fuel that. And Harvey really had that goal as well. They wanted to take their AI tool and apply quality information so that customers could trust this. So we were very aligned in wanting to do that. And for us, it's a way to see also how our information is used and how it, applies in this, in this ecosystem. It's part, though, of a broader strategy. Harvey is one collaboration, but what we see is an excellent opportunity to use very good information and provide that through AI, through higher tech tools to better enable more value for our customers. And we're doing a lot internally with our own tools. Vital Law AI, we've released multiple releases on that. In several days, we'll be releasing some additional cross-border AI tools. We're doing that to make things easier for customers, much more powerful when they use our solutions. And then we're going in deep on certain areas, practice areas, and use cases where we can really add tremendous value for customers. But at the same time, we're working with different parties in the ecosystem to say, let us help, with this workflow as well. So we're doing this both with our collaboration initiative with different parties with AI tools, as well as our own internal initiative too. And the data we provided was primary. So it's really a subset of the data and the content that we have in some of our tools.
So I want to dig a little bit deeper into this
Uh-oh.
strategic collaboration initiative idea. So I'm curious, how I want to take a deeper dive. You've hinted at it just now, but how is this going to shape the Wolters Kluwer ecosystem strategy? And are you looking at other partners? Are you looking
Mhm.
at AI co-design? Are you looking at new licensing types of opportunities? Co-built tools, different types of workflows.
Mhm. Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you kind of see on the horizon based on this initiative?
Yeah. So for my U.S. business, we have a significant investment and focus on building out AI tools within our products. There is so much opportunity there. Now, the reality is we are partnering very closely with clients on that and doing experiments with especially our super users in certain areas, so that they can truly help us and give us the feedback to say, let's apply this tool to your content to get me where I need to go. Like practically, let's play around with this and let's work through what really makes sense for me. At the same time, we have a collaboration effort with these folks in the industry who are bringing out new capabilities, new AI tools, and can benefit from having that expertise or being able to leverage some of these giants of subject matter experts, editors, authors to ensure that they have the right content. So on the primary front, we will provide information when it makes sense, when it's a use case that makes sense. We'll provide the content that we feel comfortable with in the market and with partners that we feel have the same kind of objective to provide the right, accurate information for clients so that they can learn and be able to do things more efficiently and do a better job.
Mm. Uh, I'm wondering, in your collaboration and working with especially some of your power users, are they able to, because sometimes, I mean, you don't wanna hear criticism, but sometimes you gotta hear it in
Mhm.
order to improve the product. Um, are you finding them giving, kind of good information back on where we think the AI may be falling short? Because it's, I mean, even with some of the, you know, the big companies, when you're using it, you're still finding hallucinations. You're finding that it's not giving you the real answer that is there. So, I mean, how are you using that feedback to then re-engineer and better the product?
Yeah. So incorporated in our Vital Law AI product, we have editors in the loop. So there's a few different things we do, right? We curate as many good answers and content and information, knowing what is asked often of some of our practice areas and some some of the subjects. So they're very much involved in curating the information and providing as much good content as possible at a different level of just, raw data, but, really, really good by subject. And then we also take the feedback from customers. So these are our customers using our current products, not even developing new products. They're constantly giving us feedback, which we can turn around to continue to refine the solution. Now, as you know, nobody in this marketplace is saying no matter how sophisticated these tools get to, however you go, agents, deep research, it isn't ever perfect. So it's very important that there's transparency in um, making sure the customers can see what is going on with the tool, what's being used, what's being noted, and to continue that feedback and refinement. So that has been important. And I do, even in the very advent of starting to launch some of these products, I think we've always worked with our customers and been very straightforward about where the technology was because it's progressing, but we're all on a journey. So, sometimes the sizzle in the market can get a little bit much. You have to, yeah, you have to. We're working with this, and it's evolving, and we have to be very clear about that as we go along.
I'm curious, what does your customer look like? And are you dealing with, are you dealing with simply attorneys? Are you dealing with other staff? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So we often will work with law librarians when we're working with large law firms because they're trying to bring in the right tools, the right content, for their base. There's, of course, attorneys are our ultimate customer. They need to make sure that they're getting the right information. They know what to find where, and they can get the right content so that they can answer the questions. And often we'll have folks that are in certain practice areas that are very so highly engaged with the content. I always like to sit next to someone at dinner at a client event, and they'll talk about the exact details of some of the security solutions they've used with us and how they use it. So they're very, very intimately involved there, and that's very valuable for us, to talk to. We also have academics who are learning and working with their students on the use of the content, the information, but also the technology and government entities as well. So, and law firms, corporate legal departments. So it's quite broad. Sometimes compliance professionals also get involved with our solutions.
I wanted to look at an example of one situation where you kind of expose the product to a group at the AALL conference back in July, and let the law librarians kind of preview some of the Vital Law AI tools and give some real time feedback. And I think that's something that you're doing these labs across multiple platforms or multiple groups, and so, this whole idea of exposing it and then seeing what the results are and going back. So how are you seeing the value, or what are you seeing in the value of running these labs regularly in front of some of your users, and has there been some standout results that you've seen in taking that risk of exposing products to highly critical people like law librarians like we are?
Absolutely. Very thoughtful people, right? So, yeah, at the AALL, when people would come to our booth and say, "Hey, you want to give me a demo?" We'd say, "Why don't we do something a little bit better? Come with us, and we're going to let you actually experience, our tools here. We're going to allow you to play in the sandbox." And even when we got into the room with them, they kind of expected us to lead them in some direction. We said, "No, go at it. Here it is. Um, Push it to the limits. Try to break it. Figure out like what's some of the questions you have. What isn't working for you today? Where do you have challenges?" And I think that one of the words that stands out, like the big insight, was like someone literally shouted in the room, "Transparency," which is like a battle call. But what he was
I can hear this now.
Yeah.
maybe only in our market with transparency, but he was so excited because he was watching how the AI tool was working for him. He was watching the citations, the information it was pulling in, the logic it was using. And that had been something that he was, worried about, that black box, which he should be. Like, exactly. Like, that's what you need to know. How is this working? What is the information it's using? And so he was very, very excited about that. And what we found was that we thought people would spend a few minutes, but on average, they spent about 30 minutes. And
Wow.
some of the folks told us, "I've never been able to do this before, like really hit on these things and play with it and experience it." So, that was great for that conference, but that is really the example of what we're doing now with in certain spaces with our use cases. We're working on these experiments with customers, rapidly playing with the system, their problems, the content, the technology, so we can come out with some really good solutions for them.
Yeah. Did
So
did
we're
anybody did
great.
anybody break it?
No, it didn't break. But we've been at it for a while. Like we've been building and building and learning before, we got to this. But I think that what they do is they challenge and ask for, "I want more," or "I want different," or "I see this here, and I have this problem where I want to understand what's going on across these different jurisdictions. I have these, there's some, I use this in a certain way. Like, can I get to this?" And so it was a lot more of that doubling down, and suggestions and recommendations. It was very good.
Yeah. Before we get to our crystal ball question, I wanted to see, we're 3.5 years into since the launch of ChatGPT. Um, and I know that as one of our previous guests said, like 2 years ago felt like the Stone Age, and 2 years from now will feel like 100 years
Yeah.
from now. But are you finding anything that we may have thought, oh, AI is perfect to do this, and then when you actually get it into practice, it's really struggling. Have you seen anything that AI is not doing very well in, and hope that it will do better?
Well, I think there's different models and there's different, ways that they work, and folks think, certain ones are, you have a little more on the empathy side, some are better at summarization. So there's nuances here. But I think that we just find that if it's not, it can't make the leap, if there's gaps in what you're feeding it, or if there's too much of a certain thing, right?
Mhm.
It's even like, I just had a personal example where I was driving cross country with my husband to move my daughter, and we were looking at a certain point. We got really tired, and we were looking for a hotel, and I went on to ChatGPT and did all this research and searching for the right hotel near a restaurant where we could, and wouldn't you know it, like at the end of the day, we ended up having to drive 15 extra, minutes, and we were tired at that point. And my husband's like, "Well, why didn't you see that hotel right there? They don't have enough content out there
Yeah.
on the web, right? Like the other chain is just doing a better job of providing
They
that."
can't pick lunch places either, I'll just tell you
Exactly.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Made up places, like, "That sounds great." "Oh, that is not
oh,
real."
it is a sweet talker. It'll tell
Yeah.
you what you want to hear, and sometimes it is really not
But you
based
would
on
think, like,
reality.
it wouldn't make that up, like, I mean, all you have to do is, like, do a web search and they would come back with something, but no, 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 they don't.
Yes, and it's not consistent, but that's why you really have to understand and make sure that what you're basing your the tool on is as solid as possible. And the other thing is you have to manage it. Like you can't give up the reins of control. Like you have to be on top of this and realize that you're still editing this. Like I should have in that instant done some of my own cross-checking, and then we would have been at a better hotel. But I was tired and I just let
Yeah.
ChatGPT do it, right? So I think that's a piece of it that everyone, every single situation has.
So, we have come to the crystal ball question, Suzanne, and this is where take out the crystal ball and do some predictions for the future. So, what change or challenge is in the industry that it's going to face in the future and that we really should start to prepare for now?
I think the big thing is that all of our jobs are changing. Like we all have new jobs. And there are probably way less individual contributors anymore because we're all managing agents and these little helpers. So it reminds me of years ago at another company. At one point early in my career, one summer I inherited or I just was given 30 high school interns. And they were all at different levels of experience, aptitude, interests, and I had to manage them and make sure that they were productive, make sure they didn't get into any trouble. I had to give them the right insight. I had to guide them in a way that was very detailed. What I needed from them, what the outcome should be, trying to explain things to them, and that is what everyone sort of has to do now, right? Because there is more technology. It's not, at least in like that legal research sort of space, it's not this passive, I go in, I put my search in, I get information. We're going to be deploying agents, and we're using kind of very active technology, which is also coming back to us with, again, very beautiful results. Sometimes it is very polished and looks very comprehensive, but we're going to have to manage it very carefully, and we have to get back to the basics of understanding the steps that we would have taken in a completely manual environment and apply it there and compare it, which means that you have to be even more expert. So folks have to be even more proficient at what they do. And so some of our challenge is going to be, how do we bring new folks in the industry up as quickly as possible? So, we're going to have to work with people to understand the basics and to criticize, audit, challenge, some of the technology so that they can manage the AI and not be managed by the AI. And it really does mean different roles, I think, than we had before. So we all have new jobs.
And I do have one last question that we've started to ask all of our guests. So, what do you do to inform yourself on the changes in the industry? How do you keep up and how do you learn?
I listen to this and watch this podcast.
There you go.
We are really not saying it for that. I'm sure there are other things. There are other
No,
things
no,
that
no.
you
That's all
listen
we
to.
need to hear. That's
There,
it.
there are multiple. I mean, first of all, we are working with so many different players and talking to them all the time, as well as our customers. We are going to conferences as well and see, legal tech and, all the different environments where we're talking about this. I'm reading on LinkedIn some of the different observations and thoughts of people in the industry, even X or, some of the other platforms. And then we have a number of individuals, we have a whole practice within Wolters Kluwer of folks completely dedicated to AI and Gen AI. And they've been around for years. Like we have incorporated a lot of this technology, not just in our products, but in a lot of our operations. So that practice and center of excellence is consistently providing training, education, insights, speakers. So that also has been fueling a lot of our experience and observation of changes as it goes along in the industry.
Well, excellent. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. And Suzanne Constance, want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us here on the Geek and Review. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks for having me.
And of course, thanks to you, our listeners, for taking the time to listen to the Geek and Review podcast. If you enjoyed the show, share it with a colleague. We'd love to hear from you, so reach out to us on LinkedIn and Blue Sky.
I love it when Marlene goes into her radio voice for the outro. So
It's great. It's great. Like, that's a great voice.
And
Yeah.
can I say something? Like, are we on TikTok?
yeah,
Because I've seen stuff on
Yeah.
TikTok, so
yeah,
you can check us out on TikTok
on
too.
TikTok. Yeah,
Yeah,
catch us all in like 1 minute clips.
that's it.
Fantastic.
Well, Suzanne, for the listeners that want to learn a little bit more about what Wolters Kluwer is up to, where's the best place for them to go?
So our website, wolterskluwer.com. And we also have, if you go into that site, there's a legal and regulatory division that you can look at. And there's also a whole artificial intelligence section that is curated by many of our experts. So that's a great place to look as well.
Thank you, Suzanne. And as always, the music you hear is from Jerry David DeSica. Thank you so much, Jerry.
Oh yeah, hang on just a second. Wait,
What? What do you got?
Got to
I
turn
find I
on.
finally remembered to bring his album.
There
that
it
new
is.
album
There it
in.
is.
So it's
Go buy it, everybody.
Cardiac Country from Jerry David DeSica's his new album. I
Here, yeah,
still
that's
have it
perfect.
wrapped up because I also have it on my phone. So
Very nice.
all right. So thanks, Jerry.
Everybody check it out.
Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't have to go too far. Salt of the earth on the way to a hearse at the Devil's Backbone Bar. Hey, hey, don't take me away. I can walk on by the North Star. But I failed to notice that it's still daylight at the Devil's Backbone Bar. The Devil's Backbone Bar. At the Devil's Backbone